Good morning, babies. How are we? This is Smurf. He's looking for attention because I didn't see him all day yesterday. So before I move forward, I kind of feel a bit. I don't know where to start with this, and mainly it's because over the past 2 days, my I have been around a lot of family because my grandmother died. It's fine. She was very old, and I prayed that I basically made a deal with the universe that I would fast after she passes. I wanted to do 7 days, but my parents pointed at the fact that she didn't eat the last 5 days of her fast. And then it kind of all made sense of why I decided to fast. And it felt like it was something I needed to do in order for me to accept her no longer being with us and accept, or maybe kind of start looking at the world with her not there, right? Because that there's like a whole, literally the one thing that kept going through my mind yesterday was like the perception of the world and how anytime we change, we sit somewhere else, it kind of shifts with us. And I started wondering how other people, when they come and say pay their condolences to like a deceased, and how they truly kind of go back to their lives as if nothing happened. But the reality is that's the first thing that people do when somebody dies is they try to go back to their normal lives. And I effectively did that as well. I came and tried to move on to my normal life. But a part of me is very much aware that she's no longer here, which allows me to kind of be arrogant about my awareness. And if I want to process emotions, I really just look at, she was 94 or 95. We don't know because back then they never documented. Like she was born in the early 30s. Back then they didn't really document they didn't document properly. Every once in a while somebody would come with a batch of kids and say like, oh, this was born last year, this was next year, this was stuff. Uh, it's not that I feel bad. I'm happy she was able to pass. Her past 2 years were very difficult for her, and the past 2 months were even more difficult, and the past 2 weeks were just, she was coming and going from consciousness. And I wrote something. Uh, I wrote something about it here where I was kind of trying to describe the life as a rope and the strength of our will to cling to it or to hold on to it. It's like the strength of our will to live. And for me, I started kind of discussing with myself is if what kept her alive the past 2 years, even though she was immobile, and the past 4 or 5 years she kind of started losing her sight. All of these things, she still wanted to. I was looking at it from a whole will to live versus fear of death. And it got me thinking about how we Amore Fati, right? Like the Stoics talk about it all the time. Like you're human, you're gonna die. You're just a man, you're just a woman. Or right now there are like all these pronouns. But ideally what we're doing is we're kind of we're we're engaging in this experience. So that at the very least we die on our own terms. That's really how I see it. And almost everything that we do towards life is something that we do on our own terms. Whether these terms are dictated by us or not, then that's something else. Because our will is always effective in anything we do. But again, it's us that do it. It's us that move forward. And it's us that experience this world. And it's us that actually pass through. I think we pass through infinite amounts of times. just a beautiful experience where people can just go and like figure it out. There's a lot of animes about it, and each one makes sense in a different way of how they explain it. But as for me, what would making the best out of this experience be other than literally doing what you want? And the older generation that I know talk about this finding peace, while the young generation now that we know is doing their best to avoid that peace. Not everyone sits and talks in front of a camera the way I do. And until I started talking in front of a camera, imagine how many times I talked, I discussed, I wrote down to myself or attempted to write to people. And today I was asked what my purpose was. My response was this: to connect society at the core using its people, to give everyone a voice and a place to create and express. Well, this kind of talks about what life is to me, because each one of us is a form of expression. Each one of us literally is our unique form of expression. Everything about us is different and unique. There's nothing that special about any of us, except if we make something out of that uniqueness. We are literally like one of creation's. You can't compare whether we're creation's finest or not, because the intricacies of bugs and the details of trees, everything from the simplicity of the soil to like the emptiness and beauty of the sky, everything has was a fucking creation. That's kind of like a perfection in itself. But sustainability requires a whole lot of movement and activity and just engagement. Because we are in this kind of like closed pattern in this world, and everything about it kind of like helps us survive, and everything about nature is kind of like designed to kill us. Gravity, the minute you fall, you kind of like are you die, right? But everything about us is designed to like bring survival. Everything about nature is basically to feed us, to nurture us, to like give us the sustenance we need to kind of build and protect ourselves. But again, man, between the winters and colds, like it feels like there's this beautiful balance of I have to pay the price, but then I have to kind of like do the effort. So I do the effort to survive, but then I pay the price not to die. And it's funny because like even your mind, the days you're not actually like working on the things that you want to work on, or you are actually like focused on, or you want to kind of see and experience and create in this life. Those days are the days where you're not really feeling at your best. And the days where you work hard and engage and just feel like you're exhausted from all the things you did, that day is where you feel the most relaxed. You feel overwhelmed because of what you've been doing, but you still feel like you have actually been accomplishing a lot. I don't know. Habibi, man, I miss her. But you miss bits and pieces of these kinds of like things. Because her whole life was nothing but a moment. Just as the conversation I had that lasted 4 hours today was nothing but a moment. And 4 months ago, I decided to start making videos, and these 4 months were a moment. And at one point, I was born. Until now, it's just been a moment happening for me and for everything and everyone. How do we engage with life other than the way we want to? I don't know. I can't seem to be able to convince myself in anything other than this. And every time somebody tries to like give me advice, I just really look at how they're living. And then from there decide, is this how I want to live or not? And if it's not the way I want to live, then their words are meaningless. All we do is prepare so that when we die on our own terms as well, at least as best as we can. It's something definitely worth considering. But again, I'm feeling very zen and stoic because I feel like without her, the house that I've known for 38 years and the people that she gave birth to, I'm not really that interested in them. They're good people. I'm just like not interested in hanging out with them. They're not they're not my people. And now it's like everything from now on is a completely different form of living when it comes to them. If there's another place, I hope she's in a better place. If there's reincarnation, man, I hope she has a better experience this time. But as for everything else, this is Sanfur, and he's not really that grateful about the fact that I feed him once a day and he poops twice. I don't get it. He eats once a day and poops twice. Where is it coming from? Thank you, guys. I wrote a lot of stuff, man, so beware. These couple of videos are going to be intense.